My name is Lily. I'm 27 years old. I live in a small town near the mountains. My life is not easy. Every morning I wake up feeling afraid. Every night I cry quietly. I want to leave this life behind, but I don't know where to go. When I was a young girl, my world was full of joy. My mother used to sing to me at night. She cooked warm meals and kissed my forehead before I went to sleep. My father worked at a bakery. He brought home sweet bread and smiled when he saw me. I had a little brother named Max. He was gentle and always followed me everywhere. But everything changed when I was 9 years old. One morning my father left the house and never returned. We waited for hours, then days, and then weeks. My mother cried every night. I was too young to understand. People said my father had run away with another woman. But my mother never believed it. She sat by the window every day waiting. 2 years later my mother became ill. She grew very thin. Her skin turned pale. She stopped smiling. She no longer had the strength to cook or clean. I began doing everything. Washing clothes, making simple meals, and caring for Max. I was only 11, but I felt like a mother. One night my mother called me to her bed. She held my hand and said, "Lily, you are strong. Take care of your brother. Be brave." Those were her last words to me. The next morning she was gone. After that, life became even harder. An uncle came to look after us. He was my father's brother. His name was Robert. First he seemed kind. He brought food, paid the rent, and told us to keep going to school. But soon Robert changed. He started drinking every day. He became angry easily. He shouted at us for small mistakes. If Max dropped a spoon, Robert yelled. If I came home late, he threw things at the wall. One night he slapped me. I was so frightened I couldn't sleep. The next day he acted like nothing had happened. I wanted to run away, but I had nowhere to go. I was just a child. I didn't know anyone outside our small town. I had no money and no friends. I stayed for Max. He was only 8. He needed me. Years passed. I learned to stay quiet. I made dinner before Robert came home. Kept the house clean. I didn't speak unless he asked me something. I learned how to survive. When I turned 16, I met a boy named Alex. He worked at a small shop near my school. He had light brown eyes and a gentle voice. He always greeted me. One day he gave me a candy and said, "You look sad. Are you okay?" I wanted to cry, but I just nodded. Alex began waiting for me outside school. We talked about little things, books, music, dreams. He told me he wanted to travel. He said he hated the town and dreamed of seeing the world. I told him I wanted the same. He smiled and said, "Then come with me." First I was afraid, but I wanted to be free. I wanted to feel safe. I told Max I would return for him. I left a note under his pillow. Then, on a cold evening, I left Robert's house and ran to Alex. Alex lived in a small room behind the store. It wasn't big, but it felt like heaven. He made me tea. He gave me a warm blanket. He told me I was safe now. And I believed him. For a few weeks I was truly happy. We walked through the fields. We looked at the stars. We talked about the future. I thought I had found love. But one day Alex lost his job. He started getting angry. He stayed home all day drinking beer. He told me I didn't understand his pain. He said I was lucky to have him. Then one night he pushed me. I fell and hit my head. He said, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean it." And I believed him. I didn't want to go back to Robert. I had nowhere else to go. But Alex did it again and again. He became just like Robert. Shouting, breaking things, calling me names. Felt small. Felt weak. But I stayed. I thought maybe I could help him change. I thought maybe love would fix him. When I turned 18, I found out I was pregnant. I was scared but also happy. I thought this might change him. Maybe he would love the baby and stop drinking. But Alex didn't stop. He got worse. When I told him I was pregnant, he threw a glass at the wall and shouted, "Are you trying to trap me?" I cried all night. I wanted to leave, but I had no money. No home, no one to turn to. One night, he hit me so hard I couldn't stand. I lay on the floor, holding my belly. I was terrified for my baby. The next day I went to the local clinic. The nurse looked at me and said, "You need help." She gave me a card with the name of a women's shelter. That night, while Alex was asleep, I packed a small bag and left. The shelter was in another town. It was a quiet place with 10 other women. Some had children. Some had bruises. Some had broken hearts. But all of them were like me, searching for peace. I stayed there until my baby was born. Little boy. I named him Noah. He had my eyes and dark hair. I held him and cried. I whispered, "I'll never let anyone hurt you." Life wasn't easy, but I worked hard. The shelter helped me find a job at a bakery. I baked bread in the mornings and came back in the evenings to feed Noah. I lived in a small room with one bed, one table, and 2 chairs. It was simple, but it was mine. For a while I felt strong, smiled more. I took Noah to the park. I read books at night. I didn't think about Alex or Robert. I tried to leave the past behind. But then one day Alex found me. I was walking home from the bakery. I heard a voice behind me. "Lily." I turned around. My heart froze. It was him. He looked tired. His clothes were dirty. He smelled like alcohol. He smiled and said, "I missed you." I didn't speak. I didn't move. He said, "I've changed. I don't drink anymore. I want to see my son." I said, "No." He grabbed my arm. "Please, just once." I pulled away and ran. That night I couldn't sleep. I held Noah close. I locked the door. I cried quietly. Felt afraid again. The next day I went to the police. I told them everything. They said they would help. But I still felt scared. Since that day I live in fear again. I look over my shoulder. Check the doors twice. I never let Noah out of my sight. I don't know if Alex will come back. I don't know if he'll try to take my son. I want to be free. I want to feel safe again. But I don't know how. I still go to work. I still smile for Noah. But inside I feel broken. Some nights I cry while he sleeps. I whisper, "I'm sorry. I wish I was stronger." I don't know what the future holds. But I hold on to one hope. That one day I won't have to live in fear. Some days I feel strong. Other days I feel like I'm falling apart. I try to be a good mother. Every morning I make breakfast for Noah. He loves toast with honey. He laughs when I make funny faces with his food. His smile gives me hope. But deep inside I'm still afraid. I always check the windows. I always look behind me when I walk home. I moved to a new room in the shelter. But I still don't feel safe. I still hear Alex's voice in my head. I still see his face in my dreams. I wake up with my heart racing. One day, the shelter manager asked me, "Lily, would you like to speak with a counselor?" Said no. At first, I didn't want to talk about my past. I believed that talking would only bring more pain. But a week later I said yes. Her name was Julia. She had kind eyes and a gentle voice. She asked me about my life. I told her everything, from my father to Robert and then Alex. She didn't cry. She didn't look shocked. She just listened. Then she said, "You are brave, Lily. You survived. You're still here." No one had ever said that to me before. We met every week. Little by little I started to feel lighter. Like I wasn't alone anymore. I learned that none of it was my fault. I learned that love should never feel like pain. I learned that I deserve peace. Noah turned 2 years old. He could walk and talk. He called me Mama and kissed my cheek every night. He loved singing. He would dance in circles when I played music. He made the world bright again. One afternoon I was working at the bakery when a customer came in. He was tall with dark hair and gentle eyes. He ordered coffee and smiled. The next day he came back, and again the day after that. After a week he said, "Hi, my name is Daniel." I said, "I'm Lily." He smiled and said, "I like your smile." I looked down. I wasn't used to compliments. I didn't know how to respond. He didn't push. He didn't ask personal questions. He just came in each day, bought a coffee, and talked about little things, books, the rain, songs on the radio. One day he asked, "Can I walk you home?" Froze. My heart said, "No." My fear said, "Run." But something deep inside whispered, "Maybe, it's okay." I said, "Just to the corner." He walked beside me. Not too close, not too far. He said, "You're strong. I don't know your story, but I can see it in your eyes." Smiled. "Thank you." For the first time in years I felt warmth inside. Over time, Daniel slowly became a part of my life. Carefully, gently. He brought books for Noah. He helped me carry groceries. He never touched me without asking. He never raised his voice. He once said, "Love isn't control. Love is safety." I never used to believe in love. But maybe, just maybe, I thought it could be real. Still, a part of me was afraid. One evening, Daniel invited Noah and me to a small park for a picnic. We sat on a blanket while the soft sun set and painted the sky pink. Noah laughed, running after butterflies. Daniel looked at me and said, "You don't have to be afraid anymore." I'm not him. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to trust him. But it's hard to trust again when your heart carries so many scars. That night I had a dream. I saw myself as a little girl, holding Max's hand. We stood together in the darkness, searching for light. Then I saw Noah, smiling and holding a small candle. I woke up with tears in my eyes. The next day I called Max. We hadn't spoken in years. He was now 21 and working in another city. When he answered the phone, I couldn't speak. I just cried. He asked, "Lily, is that you?" I said, "I'm sorry. I left you. I should have come back for you." He gently replied, "You did what you had to do. I missed you." We talked for an hour. He told me he was doing okay. He forgave me. He said, "I always knew you loved me. You saved me by saving yourself." After we hung up, I felt peace, real peace, for the first time in a long while. Weeks passed. Daniel remained kind. Noah kept growing fast. And I began to feel strong again. Then one day a letter arrived. It was from Alex. He wrote, "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I want to see my son." I didn't reply to the letter. Instead, I showed it to the staff at the shelter. They said they would help me speak with a lawyer. I felt scared again, but this time I didn't cry. I looked at Noah and whispered, "I will protect you." I kept the letter in a small box. I didn't tell Daniel, but he noticed something was wrong. He asked, "Are you okay?" I said, "No, but I will be." That night, I looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't see a scared girl or a helpless victim anymore. I saw a woman, a mother, a survivor. The next morning I spoke to a lawyer. I asked about my rights. I told them everything about the past, about Alex, about my fears. They said I could file for full custody of Noah. They told me my case was strong. I felt nervous but also proud. That night, I sat with Daniel and told him everything. About the letter, about Alex, and about how afraid I still was inside. He held my hand and said, "Whatever happens, I'm here." And I believed him. 1 month later, I stood inside a small courtroom. Alex didn't show up. Only his lawyer came. They asked me questions. I answered clearly with a strong voice. I had papers, pictures, and all the proof I needed. The judge listened carefully. After 2 long hours, the judge finally said, "Full custody is granted to Lily." I cried, not from sadness but from relief. When I came home, Noah ran into my arms. I picked him up and said, "We're safe now." That night, I burned Alex's letter. Days turned into months. I moved out of the shelter and into a small apartment. It had 2 rooms and a tiny kitchen, but it was ours. I painted the walls yellow. I placed fresh flowers by the window. For the first time in years, it felt like a real home. Daniel visited often. He never rushed me. He gently said, I'll wait until you're ready. One quiet evening we sat together on the porch. Noah was asleep. The stars sparkled above us. Daniel looked at me and said, "Lily, I love you. Not because of your past, but because of the strong, beautiful woman you are today." I cried, but not out of fear. Cried because I felt love. Real love. I said, "I love you too." It wasn't a perfect story. Life was still challenging. I worked 2 jobs. Sometimes I still had nightmares. I still checked all the locks before bed. But I wasn't afraid anymore. I started writing my story. I wanted to help other women. I wanted to tell them, "You're not alone. You are strong. You can survive." I began giving talks at the shelter. I sat beside women who cried the same way I once had. I held their hands and said, "There is hope. Look at me." I didn't erase my past, but I didn't live in it anymore. Now I live for today. For Noah's laughter. For warm bread in the morning. For peaceful sunsets with Daniel. For quiet nights and soft blankets. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.